In this lecture, we're going to look at just developing the grammatical structures and range and lexis. All right, so let's get into this lecture. In this lesson, we're going to focus on developing range of grammatical structures and lexis. The activities that we're going to look at are analyzing a writing task 1 answer, assessing strengths and weaknesses of that answer. We will learn sentence transformation, how we can transform a sentence, and we will learn team sentence transformation. All right, let's look at the first activity. So let's look at the strengths and weaknesses of this response. All right, so look at the graph. First of all, analyze the graph and read and extract from one of the test takers' response, underline the verbs and circle the adverbs, right? So let's look at the graph here. The graph on the vertical axis shows the temperature degrees centigrade from 0 to 40 degrees. And on the horizontal axis, we've got 2006 to 2020. And the line graph shows us a trend. It goes up from 2006 to 8 and then steadily drops. Some of the years it remains steady, but then it starts rising from 2017 to 2020, right? So let's read this response of one of the test takers. The weather station recorded temperatures of about 18 degrees in 2006. From 2006 to 2008, the temperature increased rapidly to 27 degrees. However, from 2008, the temperature declined gradually to around 22 degrees in 2011. From 2011 to 2017, it fluctuated slightly and then rose dramatically again. The temperature peaked at just under 35 degrees in 2020. Right? So I want you to first of all, underline the verbs and circle the adverbs. Okay, first understand what are the verbs he's using to explain the increases and decreases and the trends, and also the circle the adverbs. All right, that's one activity. Then we will also, I want you to think about the strength of this response and the weaknesses. What is good about this response and what is bad about this response in terms of grammar and vocabulary. Do this activity on your own, pause the video here, and when you come back, we will review the response. All right, let's look at the answers. So you must have highlighted or underlined the verbs and adverbs. So here are the verbs and adverbs. So the first verb here is the weather station recorded. That's a verb, right? And then then the second verb is from 2006 to 2008, the temperature increased. Increased is the verb that is used. And then rapidly, right? So in from 2006 to 2008, you can see the rapid increase in the trend, right? To 27 degrees. However, from 2008, the temperature declined. From 2008, the temperature declined gradually. Now it's a gradual decline. Is you can see up until 2013, you can see a gradual decline. From 2010 to 2017, it fluctuated slightly, so it went up and down. You could use when it's going up and down, and you want to cover a few years, you can say fluctuated slightly, and then rose dramatically again. So rose is another verb, and dramatically is the adverb to define it because it's dramatic in nature, right? It's going very, very quickly, rapidly, right? The temperature peaked, and we can talk about the highest point, which is peaked at just under 35 degrees in 2020. Okay, what are the strengths and weaknesses of this response? The strengths: test taker has used a variety of vocabulary, the language is accurate, spelling, grammar, word formation, etc. The information is accurate, it correctly describes the graph, data is given to support the description. For example, 27 degrees, you should be using numbers in your body paragraph to describe your findings. In terms of weaknesses, what are weaknesses of this response? So the weaknesses, the main weakness is the limited range of grammatical structures, right? It's very, very limited. It's just using past simple is repeated throughout the extract. Also, they only use the verb plus adverb formulation and do not extend the lexical range. So I showed you, you can use the verb plus adverb structure. You can also use there was and then noun phrase. So you can use that to show that you have a higher grammatical range. And that's why it's important for you to use different structures for defining different findings. Okay. All right, let's move on. So let's do activity number 3, sentence formation, right? So look at sentence 1 in exercise 3. The verb is fluctuated. So sentence 1 in exercise 3. So I'm going to show you the exercise just quickly. Let me give you some points here before we get into activity 3. We're going to look at a sentence in exercise 3. The verb there is fluctuated and the adverb is slightly. The noun derived from the adverb, so the verb, the noun. If you wanted to change the same structure from verb, think about the noun of fluctuated. Think about the noun form of fluctuated. The noun form of fluctuated is fluctuation, right? That's the fluctuation of, that's the noun form of fluctuated, right? The adjective, on the other hand, of slightly, slightly is an adverb, but what's the adjective that can be derived from adverb slightly? It's slight. The adjective is slight, right? So we're going to look at another way of describing the same thing by using noun and adjective structure. Let's look at the sentence formation. In writing task 1, you need to demonstrate that you use range of grammatical structures and variety of vocabulary. You can do this by using a mixture of active and passive verbs. So you can also use active form and you can use passive form as well. And by using both adjective plus noun or verb plus adjective combinations. So that's the activity that we're going to do in this activity. I want you to rewrite the following sentences so the second sentence has the same meaning as the first sentence. So let's look at the first sentence here. From 2011 to 2017, the temperature fluctuated slightly. Fluctuated is a verb and slightly is the adverb. That is one way of describing it. Can you use adjective plus noun and describe the same thing? So in this one, from 2011 to 2017, there was what is the verb? What is the adjective of slightly, right? You already know slight. And what is the noun form of fluctuated? Fluctuation, right? Slight fluctuation, and then the temperature. So pause the video here, do this exercise on your own, and when you come back, we will review the answers. All right, let's look at the answers now. So note that when you are transforming from verb to adverb to adjective and noun, a preposition is needed after the noun, okay? And I'll show you what it means. And let's look at the passive one. The passive form is formed with to be in the correct tense is, are, or was verb plus past participles, okay? So your verb form is going to change to past participle, which is the third form of the verb. So you've got infinitive, you've got past simple, and then you've got past participle, okay? So make sure that you're using that. And then you will have to use preposition by, must be used if the agent is mentioned. If the subject is mentioned. If it's not mentioned, then you can get rid of by, but you must use by. So we'll look at what that means here in the answers, in the responses. Number 1, as you must have done this activity on your own. Let's look at the responses when you're changing from verb plus adverb to adjective plus noun structure. So from 2011 to 2017, the temperature fluctuated slightly. That is the verb plus adverb structure. Let's look at the structure with adjective plus noun. From 2011 to 2017, there was a slight fluctuation, and you need a preposition, right? When you use this structure, you will need a preposition which is in the temperature, okay? In the temperature, that's a preposition that you need to use when you're changing the structures. Now in number 2, the weather station recorded temperature of 18 degrees in 2006. That's the active form, active voice. When you're changing into passive voice, the temperature, which is 18 degrees, of 18 degrees were recorded in 2006, right? You could use by the weather station, but if you're not using the agent, if you're not using the subject, you don't have to worry about it. You could just say temperatures of 18 degrees were recorded. If you're using were, the auxiliary and past participle. Recorded should be past participle. It's not past simple. In your active voice, it's past simple recorded, but here it's used recorded. The past participle. Always remember you will use past participle. Number 3, there was an enormous fall in the value of the dollar in the last year. The value of the dollar fell enormously in the last year. Okay. The number of people using public transport rose slightly. There was a slight rise in the number of people using public transport. You can see that this one is adjective plus noun, and you're using the preposition here. It is predicted that there will be a dramatic increase in price by 2030. The price, you're using active and passive. Price is predicted, and predicted is the past participle, to increase dramatically by 2030. Okay. Barometers measure atmospheric pressure. Atmospheric pressure is measured by barometers. This is in this case, it's important to mention the subject. It's important to mention the agent. So you will have to use by. The supervisor checks all components of the computer personally. All components of the computer are checked by the supervisor personally. Okay, the agent is important here, and you will have to mention that by using by as a preposition. Okay, the water passed through a number of valves in the pump. The water is passed through a number of valves in the pump. So you can see that you have to use quite a lot of different structures. The one structure that you can use is verb plus adjective. Verb plus adverb. And then you could also use adjective plus noun structure. You could use active. You could use passive. Just always remember when you're changing the verb to adverb form to adjective and noun form, you have to use the preposition. And when you're using the active to passive, you have to remember that you have to use auxiliary, and auxiliary is or are or was or were, depending on what the active form is, and you have to use past participle. And also remember that you have to use by if you're mentioning the agent. Okay, let's keep moving. I want you to do another activity. This is team sentence formation. So complete the gaps in the sentences below so that second sentence means the same as the first sentence, okay? So I'll give you an example. The first example is there were dramatic fluctuations in the number of people who took holidays from 2010 to 2015. That is one, dramatic fluctuations. What is the structure here? What is the structure that we are using? There were dramatic fluctuations. This is adjective plus noun, okay? Dramatic fluctuations in the number of people who took holidays from 2010 to 2015. Let's look at the second structure. The number of people who took holidays fluctuated dramatically. This is verb plus adverb, right? Fluctuated is the verb. Dramatically is the adverb from 2010 to 2015. So you can also change the adjective and a verb, and you can see in is the preposition there to the verb plus adverb structure. So try to use all of the different styles that you already know now, and try to do this activity on your own. And when you come back, we will review the answers together. Pause the video here, do it on your own. All right, let's look at the answers. So number 1, the price of theater tickets reached a peak in 2014. And there was a peak in, so this is active passive, right? The price of the tickets reached a peak in 2014. there was a peak in the price of theater tickets in 2014, right? There was so price of ticket reached, right? There was a peak in the price of the theater tickets in 2014. Number two, a slight drop in temperatures. A slight drop in temperatures in 2016 led to an overall average of 24 degrees. Temperatures dropped slightly in 2016, leading to an overall average of 24 degrees. Number three, in general, Germany will spend much more on technology than the UK over the next 20 years. In general, much more will be spent on technology. So you're using will be, and this is spend the past participle, okay, on technology in Germany than in the UK over the next 20 years. The aging population in Japan has grown steadily. There has been a steady growth in the aging population in Japan. Finally, a conveyor belt moves the parcels to the distribution point. Finally, the parcels are moved to the distribution point by a conveyor belt. Spending patterns in Asia have differed significantly since 2018. There have been significant differences in spending patterns in Asia since 2018. The price of oil is expected to rise dramatically. There is expected to be a dramatic rise in the price of oil. The town council has made a number of noticeable changes to the layout of the roads. The layout of the roads has been changed noticeably. All right. So it's a mix of changing the structures from verb plus adverb to adjective and noun and active passive. If your grammar if you're not comfortable with your active passive grammar, you should be able to brush on it before going into an exam, because active and passive, especially this is written, passive voice is used quite often in written form. You will have to use passive voice quite a lot, even in your essays. So I highly encourage you to work, spend some time on, learning that part of area of grammar. And if you have any questions regarding active passive, you can reach out in the Q&A, and I'm happy to answer all of your queries. This lesson ends here, and I will see you in the next one. Thanks for watching.